Now, the purpose of it is to eliminate things that keep you small, to give you more freedom in the long run, to give you more autonomy, more power. But in order to do that, it has to strip away the limitations that you think you are held back by, but also the limitations that others may place upon you. And so it makes you itchy. It makes you uncomfortable with the status quo.
So I'd like to welcome Jill Loftis back. Thank you for turning up again into this group that we have here. Jill's going to help us out. Jill, what is going on with the energy? Because the astrologer, we need you right now.
Ah, well, welcome everyone. And Anne, thank you always for hosting me. And yeah, I have our little look at March all ready to roll. But yeah, it's one of those moments when the astrologers say, yeah, sorry, I apologize for being right. We're in between eclipses, my friends. We just had a pretty intense uh, solar eclipse in the sign of Aquarius, which was notable for multiple reasons. One, it was in a very harsh angle with Uranus. So, shocking events. Now, solar eclipses usually bring the death of a solar figure or the takedown of a solar figure, which is why you may have even remembered from when we spoke about February back in January. It was like, hey, take a look at this, because even the ancients used to really observe the sky and realize that something pretty dire would often happen to leaders at this time, or solar figures. And so sometimes they would even hide the actual leader and initiate or pretend that someone else was in charge. And we've seen multiple solar figures go down. I mean, there's quite the list, right? Anywhere from
Just say, I was going to say, have you read about us in the UK?
Oh yeah, Prince Andrew, and the president of Peru was eliminated. Even Donald Trump's tariffs were knocked back by the Supreme Court. Multiple heads have been rolling over different things. In fact, in Mexico, they eliminated the head of a large cartel, and that has set off a lot of volatility. So here's the thing to note about all of that. This was the first little dip or entree into the eclipse cycle, which will be taking place in Aquarius and Leo, starting over the summer for the next year and a half or so, about 19 months. So you can go back about 18 and a half, 19 years to see the last time this cycle occurred. So you can go back in your own personal history and see what was eclipsed. Even new moons, when it comes to eclipses, they can often feel like endings. They are often endings that create beginnings, which is what all endings are. But it's a little bit more accentuated with eclipses. And I know everyone gets excited about eclipses and wants to get the cool little glasses and go watch the eclipses. But traditionally, eclipses are thought to be malefic, they're thought to be dangerous. Um, and so I personally don't think that they're really the time to manifest or even cord cut, like something dramatic, because often it's just volatile. You don't even know what you're doing. It's kind of like, ripping the top off the bottle and not realizing it's going to spray all over the place. And then what are you going to do? So it's a time to be very much in a responsive kind of tone. So that was one of the things that everyone's sensing. The second eclipse that's paired with it comes on February, or I'm sorry, March the 3rd. And so that's coming up, and it's from the old cycle, the Pisces Virgo cycle, which we are still in and we're finishing up. And so we'll talk about that when we cover March, because there's something else I want to mention to you about the next few days as we finish February and move into March, is that part of what made this month feel so intense was that the planets are very clustered close together, and one by one they were moving into a difficult angle with Uranus. Uranus is the planet of sudden shocking events. So this is why it's been one of those pick up the phone, oh no, you know, not just in the world, but you personally too. There's been some things that push the eyebrows into the forehead, my friends. And it almost has to be that way with Uranian energy. Now, the purpose of it is to eliminate things that keep you small, to give you more freedom in the long run, to give you more autonomy, more power. But in order to do that, it has to strip away the limitations that you think you are held back by, but also the limitations that others may place upon you. And so it makes you itchy. It makes you uncomfortable with the status quo. And the goal is revolution, And the start of a revolution is usually rebellion. And that's the root of it. Now, technology, this is also the planet that rules technology. But one by one, it's been in a difficult angle. And so that means that these disruptions are not necessarily harmonious. So it's important to have in the mind, this may be uncomfortable. This is in the long term better for me and good for me being liberated so I can do what I need to do. So it's a matter of just kind of trying to have some perspective about the things that are happening. Now, starting tomorrow, I like to say I put the astrological white flag of caution up. Why? Well, the planet Mars is the last one to come into a difficult angle with Uranus, and Mars Uranus is violence, accidents, explosions, bombings, earthquakes, weather events, very dire, sudden things. And so this does not mean we finish this call and you go and you get your comforter and you pull it over your head and I'll see you on the 3rd.
Love to do that. I want to do that. Can I do
Because that's the thing with Uranian energy. Your headboard will break. I mean, don't worry. I mean, if the energy is going to affect you, it's going to affect you. What the important thing to do is to know it and therefore work with
that?
this idea of being free, of working hard to become free, to not be resonant with the energies of violence or anger or upset or fighting or all those shadows of the Mars energy. Mars, in its highest sense, is the warrior, the ferocious goddess, Mother Durga, the mama bear protecting her babies, like, fighting for justice, fighting for peace, you
Mm.
know? Um, so it's important to keep, your energy up, whatever works for your energy hygiene. I've been carrying my little ball of pyrite around like a crazy person. Um, I just feel like it's very protective. You got to do the you things that make you feel, resonant with peace and harmony and like, wow, if something terrible happens to someone that you have compassion, you offer them prayers, you know, you do what you need to do in the moment based on your time, place, and circumstance, which is what we do with karma, right? You have
Mm.
your journey to walk, and I have mine. You have to do your part. I have to do my part. We all do our part. But this does mean you should be more careful from now. Definitely on the 27th. The 27th is when mathematically it is precise. But, definitely a couple days before, a couple days after. Slow down. Drive a little bit more carefully. You have a meeting and you've got this boss and they're a little, volatile. Reschedule that. See if you can push it off to the next week, right? Monitor your own emotionality. If you reading the news gets you really upset, really emotional, maybe take a little bit of a media fast, right? Fasting is not just from food. You can fast from, television. You can fast from your phone. You can fast from, you know, feeling like you're on a leash and you have to respond to everybody's email 24/7. So you need to create this boundary so that you can stay in the center of things. And that means yourself. But also listen to your intuition because
Yeah,
you will be guided to avoid difficult things. Um,
yeah. I think
I,
that's the thing yet at the moment, Jill, is that, checking in with the WhatsApp groups and individual clients and students and everybody else. It's like just checking in today with them to see how they are. It's like a lot of people feeling that jittery energy. You might be some rage coming up, some frustration. That energy, what you're saying right now, that seems to be really playing out. And if I look at the group that's here in the audience, give us a nod if you've been feeling a bit like that, sort of trying to stay focused a little bit. Sort of, there's a bit of frustration there. Yeah, some of you are. You're nodding. Yeah. So it's true in what you're saying, Jill, because we're picking up, from the collective around us, the energy on the planet. So much is going on right now that on the planet there's, this rage, this anger, there's a lot of change going on. Someone just said about the PMS in the audience. I love that. Well, that's so true. I mean, come on. Do we need an excuse for that? No, it's always. But there's a lot going on, totally. And it's about us sort of really tuning into our guides to help us. Yeah, totally, Jill. I love that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And find healthy ways to move it. To suppress it, to push it back, that is not healthy. Okay. So write down your
Mm.
worries or concerns. Speak them and ask them your any difficulties to be neutralized and for everything to unfold as harmoniously as possible for you and all beings everywhere. If you have nice music that you like to listen to, I mean, it's a great time to dance vigorously, to hug trees. We all know the right things to do. It's choosing them. We have to
Yeah.
choose them. We have to choose it like it's important, you know?
Mm.
And so, and yeah, and I can say this, we're all women here tonight, and I'm sure there will be men who listen to this, but there's something deeply traumatized right now for women with everything that's being exposed. I mean,
Mm.
everything we knew or was afraid to think that happened to other people, not just us, has been revealed, and not even
Mm.
all of it. So there's a great bit of emotionality tied up in that as well. And so honor and respect, is it a good time for voodoo dolls? Um, I would I would say no. I would say that's why this gets perpetuated.
Yeah, because
Okay?
it comes back. It'll bite you in the
Right,
bum if you
right.
do it.
Because then you have to understand. So then you come back and you're that person who caused that pain. And then until you get to the point in your spiritual cosmic journey where you say, this karma stops with me.
Mm.
I am not carrying this forward. No, I know you're just playing, but really, I mean, I know some people who feel that way. Here's the thing about retribution. Karma is a boomerang. Whatsoever you say, do, or think returns to you. And if you
Mm.
that's the great recipe for your life. You don't like your life right now? Start sending something different out. Start doing the thing that you wish was being done to you. You feel unseen, start seeing some other people. You feel unloved, start loving other people. You feel unaccepted, unappreciated, start appreciating and accepting other people. Not those who aren't worthy and not without authenticity.
Mm.
But there is a certain amount of you've got to give what you want to get. And so for this time period, um, as you watch things happen, try to maintain this idea of peace. And if you don't like the word peace, you can use a different language. You can use paj or anything else. But in Sanskrit, the language of speaking just energetically, the word peace is shanti. Shanti, shanti, shantihi, shanti, shanti, shantihi. And the first piece is you. Next piece goes to the people right around you. And the third one is tihi, so that it vibrates throughout this planet and out to all universes everywhere. And it's just this idea of they're really staying in the center. But
Mm.
again, so let's say you're walking down the street the next day and you see somebody in conflict or an argument. Don't immediately go to fear. Start wrapping them in light. Not attached. Don't interfere. Don't be like, I'm a spiritual warrior and I'm here to save you. No, no. um, but just like try to keep your energy high. And if you get home and you feel like you're in a bad mood, go take a shower.
Yeah.
Burn a candle, write it down, talk it out, get you a therapist, run some cards, do all the things. Um, because this really, it really is, this whole month has kind of been hinting at what could have or could be the volatility that's coming. And so if
Yeah.
you've kind of pulled a few things back from the edge, this could be the thing that tips it over. And so that's the thing. When you realize you're at the edge, what do? You take a few giant steps back. And again, slow down. And I know that's, everyone's like, right, slow down. No, really. Be more methodical as you're making your coffee. Don't have the television on and your earbuds in and you're texting and try to do the things. So keep in mind that the time between eclipses is considered volatile period. So, and we're in between them. Some people even start looking at eclipse energy a full week or two before the eclipse. And so we're gonna be aware and alert this entire time span as we move into March. That's the thing with the eclipses and the sun. They can absolutely, like I said, solar figures can go down. It can be literal, it can be figurative, but people in leadership positions uh, run into problems. And we're going to see more of that starting in the summer over the next year and a half, you know, 18 months, 19 months, um, because it's on the Leo Aquarius axis. And so you're going to see big dramatic group events because that's Aquarius, but big dramatic events related to leaders and leadership as well. So yeah, interesting. And again, look at those two areas of your life. They're across from each other in your chart. There's going to be major endings and beginnings in those two areas of life that could harken back to 19 years ago if you're old enough to look at your chart.
I think let's dive into the month and see what's coming up.
Absolutely. So, as I mentioned, this Mars and Aquarius volatility, this is at the very end. We also, other than the eclipses, another major astrological thing occurred on the 20th of February, which was the meeting of Neptune and Saturn in the sign of Aries. Some astrologers are saying 5,000 years since it last happened. Some are saying 9,000 years. A lot of years. Let's put it that way. Okay. And these are two powerful, very slow moving planets, not only starting at the beginning of the zodiac, but at the 0 degree, the most potent degree. And so there's the principle of dissolution, illusion, spirituality, creativity, manipulation, which is all Neptune, and the energy of Saturn, which wants to build, which wants to solidify and stabilize. And so I think I compared this before like this. It's almost like the volcano erupts and that magma comes out, and then all of a sudden the terrain is different, right? Wait, there was no landmass here. There's a landmass here. When did that happen? Oh, so it's kind of the energy of both things falling apart and then quickly coming together. It's also Aries energy, which is about independence, fighting, immaturity sometimes, being bold, being courageous. This is why all of a sudden everyone's more about like what they're doing by themselves. It's becoming much more popular. And some of the groupthink that was, that kind of fomented over the last few years is kind of falling apart. And so there's also been during these last few days, and as we finish up the month, beautiful energy between Venus and Jupiter. And those are the two benefics. And so this is what, and they're both in water signs. So this gives us the idea of, wow, couldn't things be better? Things could be better. We can see a better way of doing things if we were more creative, loving, compassionate, understanding, and taking care of things, right? But it absolutely is a new energy. And I said this to Anne before we started, and I think I used this metaphor before, but I'm going to say it again. It's like we've been playing chess on a chessboard, and we have the little round black things and the little round red things, and you go straight or you can only go diagonal, like the rules. And now all of a sudden those pieces are gone. You still have that same board with the little squares, but you've been given chess pieces now. And you need to learn, oh, I used to be able to just go like this. Well, no, you can't do that anymore. That old way just doesn't work anymore. So you need to really think about how things that you thought would be the same forever, whether it's banking, food systems, money, jobs, all of it, it's all going to be different.
Mm.
So, yeah. And intuition, which I think has been the lesson of the last 2 years, has been you've got to tune in.
Yeah, totally.
You've got to tune in. So here's a snapshot of the sky on March the 1st. Now, I don't think you even need to be an astrologer to say, hey, wow, man, that's a lot of planets all close together. Okay? And it is. This is the tail end of the volatility here. Mars at the very last degree of Aquarius in a difficult angle with Uranus. And then we have the North Node, the Sun, Mercury, which is retrograde, and stations retrograde. Let's see, what day is it? It's this Thursday. Mercury stations retrograde. Venus, all in the sign of Pisces. And then we have Neptune and Saturn and Chiron in Aries. Okay. So this one sector of your chart is really getting a lot of energy. And one by one, as these symbols move, with the exception of the nodes, one by one, as these symbols move from water to fire, I think you'll start to feel a little bit more inspired, a little bit more like you've come out of the fog. If you've had some struggles over the last 2 years, like finding your direction, I think you're going to start feeling like you have your compass heading. Okay. Now, some of the key themes of March, many moon voids. March, April, May, packed with moon voids. What are moon voids? It's when the moon interacts in the sky with all the other planets, and then all of a sudden, mathematically, it doesn't interact with any of them. I liken it to going to a dance or a party, and you're like meeting all these people and seeing everyone, and oh, there's that person over there you don't want to talk to, but they just looked at you, and oh, somebody tells you how great you look in your dress, and and then all of a sudden, it doesn't feel like anyone's seeing you, and you kind of take up in the corner, and you're not really interacting with anybody. You feel almost invisible. This is what a moon void feels like. And when the moon is void, things don't stick. You don't want to sign a contract when the moon is void. You don't want to send your resume to an important job or have an interview. You don't want to get married. You don't want to do things that are really important during moon voids. We're going to have a lot of them. Why? Well, because so many of the outer planets are way at the beginning of the zodiac. They're all clustered between 4 and 0. So there's going to be a lot more of them, some of them lasting more than a day. So if you have important dates this month, look up the moon voids. If you're not sure where to look, I put a blog up on my website every month that lists them in, I think I have 7 time zones on there. So check that out. Also, this focus on Pisces and Aries. So the focus on intuiting, getting clear, and then taking action. The total lunar eclipse in Virgo that I've spoken a couple times about that happens on the 3rd. A total eclipse. Something is gone. Something's eliminated. You may have been trying to hold on to it. Bye. You may have been trying to let go of it and had trouble. Well, there it goes. Okay. It's going to clear some space in your life. We're also going to observe Jupiter stationing direct when the outer planets, and this is not a super far outer planet, Jupiter, but Jupiter stays in a sign for about a year, and you kind of can follow it in 12-year cycles, 12-year cycles of opportunity and luck. But when it pauses in the sky and begins to move forward, it kind of reverberates. It kind of gives you a little message. Hey, I took a little time to back off of this, but why aren't you doing something about this great opportunity? Why aren't you saying yes to something positive that I delivered to you? And this is in the Cancer area of life. So if any planets in Cancer, you're basically being told between now and July, or you got 12 years to wait until that boat comes back around to catch you. Okay.
Wow.
So this is where you need to really look into the like, where am I like, oh, of course that good thing has happened. I'll get it next time. You might not want to wait 12 years for that opportunity.
That feels a lifetime, Jill.
Right? Yeah, but it's really fun to watch. It's fun to look at your life in 12-year cycles, 12-year increments, and kind of see where the opportunities were. You can also see if you took on too much. The
Hmm.
North Node and the South Node, they're kind of they're not actual bodies in space. They're mathematical points, but they're kind of parked for the next 2 months at around 8 degrees. So if you have anything in your chart that's 8 degrees, pay attention to that. But it also means it's just kind of drilling down on this idea of, so what are you inspired to do now, and how are you going to be practical and kind of come forward and make it happen? And there'll be something about that message that you'll get during this eclipse. You'll have to say to yourself with that eclipse on the 3rd, where do I have this brilliant idea or idealization of how things could be? And how do I actually implement that here in the world? Because it's not enough to dream the dream. Then you have to put in the work, right? And then later in the month, we have a new moon in Pisces. And I think this will feel a little bit like a liberation because this will be the first new moon in Pisces without Saturn and Neptune. Neptune has been in Pisces since 2011, and Saturn's been in there for the last 2.5 years. So that area of life for you is ready for its new debut without the feeling like it's being crushed by Saturn or confused by Neptune. March the 20th is when the sun will go to 0 degrees of Aries, and that is the astrological new year. So if you need a little do-over on your New Year's resolutions, you can use the astrological new year. And it's definitely an influx of energy. And that's also the day that Mercury will station direct, which is interesting too. So it will definitely deliver some messages for you. And then the sun and Neptune will meet, and the sun and Saturn will meet. And these are moments of consequence, and they also will set the tone because every year for the next 2.5 years, when the sun goes into Aries, it will meet Saturn, and Saturn will say, have you put in the work? Are you playing by the rules? Are you working hard enough? And for 14 years, it will meet Neptune and say, are you inspired? Are you living according to what really matters to you? Are you really connected to the cosmos and doing the work to stay connected? Questions. I'm going to break it down day by day here. We're just going to hit the highlights. So on the 2nd, Mars will go into the sign of Pisces, and we'll all say, well, a little sigh of relief because that means it will break that connection a little bit with Uranus, at least by the 2nd or 3rd. But yet, Mars doesn't really like being in Pisces because Mars is a warrior. Mars likes to fight, like Mars is fire, and all of a sudden it's like it can't swim. So if you still feel this sense of indecision and not uncertainty or things like that, that's okay. What Mars needs to do is sit and meditate. That's what he needs to do instead of running around with his sword, trying to accomplish things through brute strength. So that is a good solution for you as well. The total lunar eclipse, that full moon, is on the 3rd. There's 6:38 a.m. Eastern, so adjust it for your time zone. Again, I don't suggest ritualizing it, but just be alert and aware. What do I need to let go of? In the sign of Virgo, it is great for general renewed health, like letting go of negative health habits. If you want to kick that thing you've been doing that you really shouldn't, whether it's, too much junk food or anything like that, or even if you just want to take something on, like, wow, I just really need to start exercising, this is a good energy to release the obstacles that get in that way. It's also good energy to release the feeling that you aren't empowered to heal yourself and take charge of your life, because Virgo is the sign of service and the healer. So really, kind of clearing the way. A good way to work out this energy would be to deep clean your home, or at least pick one room and, like, Virgo it up, ritualize it. Get your bucket of warm water, put some rosemary in there or something like that. Like turn it into, like, not just I gotta clean, but like, wow, I'm really letting go of all of this dirt, all of this stuff that I don't need that gets in my way. Then on the 4th and the 5th, there's some beautiful energy with Venus, Uranus, and the Sun and Jupiter. So this is kind of like okay. And every time I think about this time period, I think of, again, cleaning, of somebody with one of those really giant brooms. It's like, oh, I'm your post-eclipse cleanup crew, friend. I'm here to scoop up all the mess that was made and put something better back where there was. Here's opportunities. Here's something you never thought could happen. There it is. Amazing. So lean into that. And this is the last time that Venus and Uranus will connect in these particular signs in this configuration, because Uranus is moving on. So really take advantage of that. And the same with the Sun, Jupiter. Lean into that. On the 6th, Venus will move into Aries. And she doesn't just move into Aries, she moves into Aries, and all of a sudden she's like, oh, Neptune, Saturn, you're already here. So she doesn't, like, get to just go in there and be like, wow, let's be passionate. Let's make some bad decisions quickly. She's also got these other forces there. And so it's definitely a time to slow down, because Venus and Aries can be a little too rash. She can be a little like, yep, you're cute, I'm cute, let's go, without thinking about it. So you don't want to be in too much of a hurry to buy the new car or to do the makeover or, take the cute guy home. I mean, just, and maybe you still will, but slow down, because you might not have all the information with Neptune there, and with Saturn there, there's going to be some instant karma. So it's not like there's no loophole there. The 7th and the 8th, we have Mercury backing up, beep, beep, beep. It's doing the retrograde, and it gets very close to the sun. So 5th, 6th, and 8, 9, 10, Mercury retrograde is going to feel much worse. So be aware of, have your backups, save the document, test everything out. Make sure, if you didn't hear from somebody, make sure that your email actually got sent. Because when Mercury gets close to the sun, the rays of the sun kind of blot out the energy. So it normally feels Mercury retrograde, even if Mercury isn't retrograde. So be aware of that. Could definitely bring some technological issues. But then there's a moment late on the 7th or early on the 8th, depending on your time zone, where they merge and you get a message. So make sure you have some time on the 7th and the 8th, whether it's going for a walk, whether it's meditating, to kind of see what the message is of the retrograde. This is also when Venus will be meeting Neptune, and then the very next day, Saturn. Not maybe the best time to make a big decision or commitment because of the influences there. But see what comes up. What are you feeling? What are you passionate about? What maybe new inspiration is coming through? And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, actually, I know how I could accomplish this. Is it going to be a lot of work? Yes. Am I up to the challenge? Oh, yes, I am. But don't maybe start right away with that kind of impetuous energy. On the 9th, we have a beautiful flow from Mercury and Pisces to Jupiter. Now, this is with the retrograde, so it might be something that comes back from February that you thought about or considered, or an idea, a conversation. It could be that finally your little Hey Siri note that you wrote, remind me in a month, Siri, about this great idea. It might pop up and you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I need to do something about that. So it could be a wonderful opportunity. Keep in mind with all this energy in Pisces, water is the answer to most problems. Take a shower, go soak in the tub, go walk by a body of water. Um, Ritualize water, even taking extra care to put the water that you drink in something that's really beautiful, and maybe put a little lemon, or just really, water, staying hydrated will help with all of this. All right. Another very notable date, the 10th or the 11th, because it's super late in the day. I think it's like 11:30 East Coast time on the 10th. So, oh, yes, there it is. Jupiter will station direct. Now, as I mentioned, that station point, because it was retrograde for so many months, you might not have gotten the message. But then it will deliver the message. It will reverberate in the Cancer area of life and say, again, I'm bringing you this opportunity. I won't be back here for 12 years. Where do you need to say yes? Where do you maybe need to nurture something? Because it's in the sign of Cancer, which is the sign of the mother, the sign of the caretaker, the sign of home. It may even be telling you you need to find a new home, a new location. Typically, though, what it does is helps you feel optimistic enough to move forward. On that same day, in that same time range, Venus will sextile to Pluto. And a sextile is just like a little mathematical luck. It's like, hey, hey. It's like, what am I going to do with that? So Venus in Aries is always in a big hurry. So again, slow down. But Pluto is about deep transformation. So that could be, since 2023 to now, in the Aquarius area of your life, something has fallen apart. Something ended, was destroyed. Something you thought maybe you could really rely on. It's just not there for you anymore. This could be the message that tells you, hey, there's there's something new that you're going to be excited about. There's a new opportunity coming your way. So feel excited about it, but don't be in too much of a hurry. Okay? Plant your garden, but just don't go out there and dig a tiny hole and drop the seed in. Like, prepare. Do the work, do the legwork. Now, mentioning the 11th, because there's such a long time range there where the moon is going to be void. So pay attention to that time period. And then from the 13th through the 17th, we have the North Node, which is the dragon's head, Mars, our energy planet, Mercury, the mind, all touching each other in the sign of Pisces. So keep in mind, whenever the North Node is traveling across the sky precisely is the South Node. So the North Node is called the dragon's head. South Node is the dragon's tail. So think of the North Node as a faucet turning on the Pisces energy. Mars might have been a steady stream, Mercury might have been a steady stream, but now the North Node comes and it's volumes of energy. So this is what requires us to be grounded, to go across the sky to Virgo and say, okay, how about I be practical about this? I need to make lists. It's wonderful to be so inspired. It's wonderful to get so many messages. It's wonderful to feel like my psychic abilities are upgrading, which I think everybody's are in some way. I believe almost everybody who has any ability to tap in absolutely any form is getting an upgrade.
Definitely.
But but it can feel overwhelming. Most of us are like, wow, yes, I'd love to have these abilities. And then all of a sudden they start to turn on and it's like, wait, don't I get to choose when this come, I don't want to be sensitive right now. I didn't want to know that about this person, or I see something about myself and I'm like, is that real? Yes, it's very real, but it can be overwhelming. So you have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And again, like I said, go across the sky to Virgo, not in a negative sense, not in a way that the Virgo says, well, I only wanted to do it this way, so never mind, you know, because instead you have to say, well, here's the opportunity, here's the idea, here's the creative spark. How can I be practical and get this to actually work or function? Keep in mind also with the South Node in Virgo can really, I think, amplify self-critical behavior. So be nice to yourself. It's really hard being a human right now. It's extra hard being a sensitive human right now. But think of your mind and your body as like your favorite pet, and if you've got like, if your cat is stressed out, what are you going to do? You're going to make sure it seems, it feels safe. If your dog is needs this, then you're going to take it for extra walks or do whatever. Do that for you. Remember also during this time period, with Mars so close to Mercury, we have very much less of a space between I think it, I say it, I do it. And so not everything you think you should say, and not everything you say you should do. So make sure there's a little space between those three acts, or else you could find yourself in a difficult situation. All right. Any questions before I go on with the rest of March?
Can't see any hands going up.
All right. Feel free to save your questions for the end too. And they can be about anything. They don't have to be about just March. All right. Here's our new moon on the 18th. And thank goodness it is not an eclipse. We'll be feeling a little bit, I think, of an improvement in the energy to have this. But keep in mind, again, it's at 28 Pisces. It's late in the day Eastern, so adjust for your time zone. But this is the first time it's unencumbered by those other slow-moving planets. So dream your dream. Pisces, if you don't know which area of life is, it's fantastic for setting goals around any self-destructive habits or patterns. If you want a job in a large company or to feel like you're more empowered within the job or within the company, this is a wonderful opportunity for that. If you want to deal with karma that you feel like you inherited from your family, and we all have these kinds of things. I remember my mother looking at me once when I was younger, and she was like, the thing about being a parent is every so often you look at your child and you think, I'm so sorry about that. I didn't mean I didn't mean for you to get that. But, here's the thing. Sometimes as lineage holders, it's our job to dismantle some of those patterns. So it would be an excellent new moon to set goals around that. All right. On the 19th, we have the exact meeting of Mercury and the North Node and South Node. So I really see this as being another opportunity for this retrograde, the shadow of which started on February 11th. This opportunity to think, what am I rethinking, repairing, or restructuring in the Pisces area of life? And because it's Pisces, it might be very deep and internal. So it might not be something you logically come to. It might be something more that you kind of arrive at, while you're walking or meditating or dreaming or something like that. Luckily, Mars has moved on, so it is not there. The 20th is our astrological new year. The sun goes to 0 degrees of Aries, 10:46 a.m. Eastern. It is also the day that Mercury stations direct, so there's a message there. There's also an extended moon void on the 20th. The moon will void from 5:23 a.m. Eastern until the 21st at 2:35 a.m. Eastern, so all day. Important to note because of these important astrological events as well occurring during a moon void. You might see something happen and think, oh no, I've got to watch out for that. If it happened during the moon void, it might not have the long-term repercussions you might be concerned about. Mars in Pisces trines to Jupiter on the 21st. So this is okay. Now I'm going to move forward with this decision. I know deep in myself, intuitively, psychically, cosmically, I know I have to move forward with this opportunity. This is also the 22nd when the sun will meet Neptune. Now, this is a couple days where the sun meets these planets for the first time and says, oh, hey, what are you doing in my house? I didn't expect you here. So Aries, of course, is very passionate. And so suddenly it encounters Neptune. I think there will be people or groups of people very passionately or very angrily coming after the wrong people or pursuing the wrong, they're just going to be confused. But they're going to be much more aggressive about it than they were in the past. And so this is something to really watch. It could be a group of people that maybe you've been associating with or someone in your family or whatever, and all of a sudden they're really confused. So just be aware of how you see that um, and understand what the message is for you. Maybe groups of people you need to avoid, or not posting something online, or there's lots of different ways that this could play out. And then the sun comes in contact with Saturn. Now, Sun Saturn is usually tiring, exhausting. So just watch at the end of March. It will feel a little bit like the end of February, where you're kind of sliding across the finish line thinking, oh my goodness. People keep thinking, when is it going to go back to normal? And the answer is, it's not. This is the new normal. Okay. We're going to integrate it. We'll come to terms with certain things, but we have to understand again the new chess pieces that we're being given so that we understand how to operate wisely. Now, this Sun Saturn also can sometimes bring depression or melancholy. So if you have some really tough days at the end of March, you know, at least understand why, particularly if you are an Aries. In the positive sense, though, they will send beautiful energy to Pluto. And again, Pluto is the planet of death and rebirth. Even nice Pluto energy isn't easy energy because it requires us to basically destroy something so that it can be completely reformed. So you may get some messages at the end of the month as well of how something that has left your life is going to be reconstructed in a brand new way. And then our first little bit of Earth energy arrives on the 30th when Venus slips into the sign of Taurus, and she'll be like, "Wow, those were some decisions I made last month. I was in such a rush. Now I'm going to slow down. I'm going to eat some lovely things. I'm going to sit in the garden. I'm going to check my budget, make sure I didn't overspend when I was in Aries. I was in so passionate about some things. So, pretty big shift.
It's a real period of change, isn't it? It's like you were saying about the chess pieces and, getting new pieces on board now, new rules, new regulations, how we've lived life for so long. And then that massive shift that's here now, it's all making us reevaluate who we are, where we are on our journey. We needed it to happen, but going through that whole rebirth and it's that labor of love of who we're turning into and the world that's changing. So it's good. But going through the thick energy at the moment, it's like, no, the thing is, it's like if we have a heads up, like with the astrology, like you were saying today, I reached out to you and I reached out to a couple of colleagues of mine looking at the energy right now. It's nice to know that you're not the only one. So by listening to information like this, I mean, as you're going through, I was just putting in the dates in my calendar. I'm like, oh yeah, if I feel tired on that day, that's because of that. And that's what I was doing. I was listening to you, I was like, so I'm prepared. So it makes it easier for us by knowing this information. It's that preparation. So we go, yeah, I understand that's what's going on right now. So yeah, no, thank you, Jill, for that. It's really important.
My absolute pleasure.
How can people reach you? Can you read out like your website so they know that they can connect with you?
Yeah, I can bring back my cute little
Yeah.
Canva. Jill at Nuit Astrology, NUIT, like the Egyptian goddess of the sky. I'm not hard to find.
Thank you so much, Jill, for being with us.
Right. That's
Thank
great.
you so much.
Guys, hang in there. Do the things. All right. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Thanks.
Ciao.